this next team, the Boston Red Sox, we have some interesting decisions to make because we also remember we have to operate within reasonability of what we understand the big league team to be operating like.
Do you have the
And
quote?
yeah, can you read
I
the
have the
quote? I'll
quote.
just the floor is yours, Peter, on where they're at right now. Of course, like we're going to try to make this team good, but it's one of those things. Before I kick it to you, they got to want to make themselves good. So let's see, what we think the front office is going to do based on this recent quote.
Well, Aram, we gave them a New Year's resolution. Stop spending money on Liverpool and start spending it on the Boston Red Sox, excuse me. New quote from the Boston Globe. Craig Breslow, new GM of the Red Sox. The reality is that it's going to require a step forward from the young position players. It's going to require the built out of a talent pipeline of arms that we can acquire, draft, and develop internally. Keyword internally. And now Red Sox Twitter is ablaze, right? They've been quote unquote the front runners for a lot of these free agents and continue to be outbid, it seems like, right?
Yes.
It's embarrassing. And it's not embarrassing for the fans. You guys did nothing wrong. You pay high ticket prices, you pay for parking, you support this team until the very end, and they've rewarded you with a couple of championships in the last decade, or, at least the 21st century. But the reality is this team has finished in last place 3 of the last 4 years. And when you look at the landscape of the American League East, if they don't make changes, don't we see the same fate again? I know I just said again 3 times, but it should be again 4 times because it'll be 4 of the last 5. I cannot believe this is the route that they are going. They make so much money. They are the 3rd most valuable MLB franchise. Yankees 1, Dodgers 2, Red Sox 3. You are a historic, storied franchise in Major League Baseball. And this is how you operate? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
And I'll say Chris Cotillo, who's the Red Sox beat writer for MassLive.com, has done an unbelievable job covering this because, look, he's been very transparent the whole time and said, like, look, this team, everyone I've talked to has said that this team is operating like, a small market team. And he has been very unafraid to peel back the curtain and say, hey, this is what's going on here. And it's funny, dude. I mean, did you ever think you'd feel bad for Red Sox fans? As a Yankees fan growing up, like, did you ever? I never grew up a Yankees fan, so I don't really have a horse in the race, but I genuinely feel bad for Red Sox fans because they have raised ticket prices over the last few years. They did have a really surprising run, not really, but surprising run a few years ago that found them a game away from the World Series. And since then, it's just been walking backwards. And now the big word is a bridge year, right? How many bridge years is it before it's just, hey, we're trying to operate like the Rays? Like, if you told me that the quote that you just read from their new GM, Craig Breslow, which I don't think it's Breslow's fault. It's the same.
No.
It's the same thing that Chaim Bloom had to deal with. They fire him, and then they're making Breslow deal with the same shit. Like, it doesn't make sense. But if you read me that quote, I would have assumed that it was from Peter Bendix, the new Marlins GM. I wouldn't have assumed that it's from, the new general manager or the new, head of decisions, baseball operations for the freaking Boston Red Sox. So from that lens, it's really surprising. But that said, like, this team is not that far away from being good. And that's why it's really surprising to me. They went 78 and 84 last year. They did add a couple players. Do you have anything else to add before I go into the additions and subtractions?
Not really, other than the fact that I don't mind this team. They're not great, right? But it's a team that if you made big signings, they have at least a core plus more free agents to really compete in the American League. So it's one thing for the Red Sox to act like a small market team, but then act like a small market team when you have a window right now. How many more years are you going to have Rafael Devers? Is he going to be just the next star that you end up not? Oh, wait, they did extend him, didn't they?
They did extend him.
They did extend him. So at least you have Rafael Devers there. But the rest of the team, like, what's everyone going to be? Like, you signed Masataka Yoshida, and then what? Okay. It's kind of over.
Now they're shopping him, allegedly. Like, reportedly, he's available. Like, that's the other side of it now is who the hell is going to want to sign with them unless you're Lucas Giolito getting paid a ton on a 2-year deal as a reclamation project? If you're hearing that guys are getting moved, you see that Chris Sale trade, which I don't think was bad in a vacuum, but again, it's more about the larger picture. You look at these things and you see Yoshida, I don't know how much validity there was to those conversations, but I buy it based on everything else we've heard. Why would you sign there? Why would you want to sign with the Red Sox? And I think that's part of the reason why. I don't know if it was just getting outbid, but I think it's also players just seeing the direction of the Red Sox and saying, I'd rather sign somewhere else where, at least I know that I'm not going to be one of the only pieces they add, which again, this isn't a Red Sox that I'm familiar with in my lifetime. That's for sure.
You want to go over their full transaction list and then we'll get straight into it?
Let's do it. So I'll focus on who they've lost thus far because it's actually pretty significant as they're trying to add and build back up. So in terms of who they lost in free agency, Adam Duvall, who was balling out before the unfortunate injury. So I'm interested to see where he lands. Justin Turner also really hit well last year. James Paxton, Joely Rodriguez, Richard Blyer, Corey Kluber, Alberto Mondesi, who was a ghost for them anyways. Those are the players that go the other way. And unless they are able to add somebody back or re-sign somebody, I doubt it though. They do go out and trade for Tyler O'Neill. They get Vaughn Grissom from the Braves in that Chris Sale salary dump, and they sign Lucas Giolito. They also acquired Justin Slayton via the Rule 5 draft, who I actually think was one of the best selections in the Rule 5 draft. And that's the thing is the Red Sox are going to build pitching depth because Breslow is phenomenal at that. That's why they added him. But the fact that should be like a bonus. That should be part of the reason why you can be a really, really good franchise because you can spend and develop. Leaning on that as an excuse to be cheap is not it. That said, I do love the addition of Slayton. So, I mean, that's really it. Roberto Perez, I think, as a non-roster invitee at catcher. And that's pretty much all the additions that we've got, unless I'm missing something outside of the obvious here. But, I mean, look, I liked the O'Neill add. I liked Vaughn Grissom. We'll go through the lineup, but they've lost. Would you say they've lost more than they've added thus far? I'd say definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of stayed the same. I don't know if they've lost more than they added, right? Like I
Turner was
prefer
good.
if I'm the Braves to get Chris Sale, but Vaughn Grissom should be a good or at least a relatively good player for them next year. I still
Yes.
think Tyler O'Neill has a ton of upside and they didn't give up much for him, right? But losing James Paxton stinks. So they lost Sale and Paxton and what is probably their weakness, right? It's probably the rotation. This offense finished 9th in OPS last season. Starters finished 22nd in ERA, bullpen 20th in ERA. So I think the offense maybe got a little bit better, I would say. Pitching got worse, and it was already bad. And that was already a big reason why you weren't competing last year.
Yeah.
So do I think they got better or worse? I don't know. I think they might be a 78-win team again with this current roster. But I feel like, and this is why this might be the hardest GM episode to do. Should we operate as if we are the Boston Red Sox and we have money? Or should we operate like a small market GM team and leave Red Sox fans with a carcass of a roster?
I think you got to lean somewhere in the middle, which is what they're going to do, right? Is that kind of bridge
What is the middle?
and try to illustrate what would be the best case scenario for them, hovering somewhere in the middle, which is I don't even totally know what it looks like. Because if you look at the lineup, let's walk through it here. I actually think the lineup can be good.
Me too.
Jarren Duran's good. Like he
good.
was banged up, but if he had a full season, I think people would really realize how productive he was.
That dude, Aram,
jacked.
He is so jacked. I don't know what he did this past offseason, but he came in looking like a Brinks truck. I mean, this guy was fast, athletic, looked like a completely different player than he was in previous years. I mean, the dude nearly hit 300. Almost slugged 500. Now, the home runs weren't necessarily there, but the stolen bases were and the doubles were there. He's a player that if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm very excited about for next year. It kind of came out of nowhere.
And the home runs will come. Like, he hits the ball hard. Obviously, he's jacked. So that's a good player for you. You feel really good about Duran, I think, in center field. Rafael Devers at third base for the next decade, you're good there. Tristan Casas, he's a guy that's going to get better. I mean, he was unbelievably good in the second half. He's going to be even better.
He almost won Rookie of the Year because of how good he was in the second half, and that was with Gunnar.
Thank goodness, because that was one of those wagers I made with the listeners of the call-up that I said, if Casas is not a decent big leaguer, you can punch me in the face. And after the first half of his big league career, I was like kind of scared to go outside. I was like, because I didn't say when. I didn't say by when. Correct. So I'm glad that Casas is balling out. He's going to be a natural upgrade for them just based on him hitting better than he's going to hit, that he hit over the course of the whole season. Story back. Look, I am not the biggest Trevor Story guy, but I can promise you they're going to get more production, just him being available. Only 168 plate appearances last year. He had 203, 250, 316. I will say, since repairing that arm and just kind of getting healthy, the defense was very, very solid last year, which was a huge, huge development for him, considering, the inconsistency of the bat. They're going to get more value from Trevor Story, whether you believe in him, or not. They will get more. So that does help.
It's kind of like on the Yankees side with Carlos Rodon after putting up like a 6.83 ERA and however many starts. It's like, I don't think he's going to get worse. Do we think that he achieves what Carlos Rodon was a couple of years ago or what Trevor Story was a couple of years ago? Probably not. Are they still going to be good? Yes.
They'll be, which is a huge gain for them, for both teams. And so that side of it, I think that's a great analogy. Masataka Yoshida moving to DH will naturally just be better for you.
Yes.
The guy can swing it. I think a big reason why he fizzled at the end of the season was the fact that he was, chasing his own tail in the outfield. I really don't think that helped at all. And it was brutal for him out there. So him at DH, great. Tyler O'Neill, I know you and Jack love him more than I do, but I get why you guys love him. I can see how exciting it could be. And that's a guy that you go for the upside there in left field, because you need upside on a team like this. He's going to be a free agent, I believe, after this year. So why not give it a shot here with Tyler O'Neill, see what he can do? At the very least, you just got much better defense in left field than what you were getting from Masataka Yoshida.
I mean, when Tyler O'Neill is on, it looks like an MVP candidate. Like, I almost compare him to, when I've always been super high on Ketel Marte. There's just like a level of talent there that if it clicks, not saying that it will this year, I have no idea, right? Because sometimes it looks like he couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat. And then there's sometimes when he's locked in and he looks that athletic in the outfield and he's just a bomb threat as soon as he steps up to the plate, that you view him as one of the most talented guys. It's just about being consistent and staying healthy over an entire season. But if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm dreaming right now because he could be crazy. He also could flat out suck. So the difference with Ketel Marte is his bat is not nearly as bad as Tyler O'Neill's.
No, it's Tyler O'Neill's so much higher offense.
But Tyler O'Neill's good. I think it's MVP caliber. It's that electric of a bat.
Well, when he's defending the way he can defend, he can hit for power, he steals bags. It just has never all been there for him, really, other than that one stretch that we got because of, I would say, predominantly injuries, but also I wouldn't underestimate a really weird situation in St. Louis. And I think a situation where he definitely probably went a little bit stale there. And obviously there was some weird comments back and forth that we saw at some points with the benching and all that good stuff. So I love O'Neill and left for them, especially for what they gave up, reliever and another arm. Great addition for them. Wilyer Abreu, I actually think, is an incredibly underrated piece. I said that dating all the way back to the trade when it went down, when they traded Christian Vasquez to the Astros. So go get Abreu. He hits. I saw him in the Arizona Fall League. I've seen him one other time in the minor leagues, and then I've also just kind of followed him since the trade. He can swing it, man. And look, if he struggles, you've got Ceddanne Rafaela waiting in the wings, who can also play an elite outfield or plug in at shortstop. But I think Abreu can swing it. And in his short taste last year, he put up good numbers, put up great numbers in AAA. He can run a little bit. He's just 24 years old. I do think he's very underrated and could be a good option for them.
He's only 25 years old and those good numbers, right? 862 OPS. I know it was only 76 plate appearances, but 24 hits, hit 316, 388 OBP. That's someone to be excited about. And like you said, they have Ceddanne Rafael. That's why I think we're so upset at the Red Sox right now. Look at this team. All you need to do is go trade for an ace, sign a Montgomery or a Snell, which they could legitimately do both.
Easily.
And they're just not gonna. It's almost the same conversation we're having with the Orioles. Red Sox, you are not the Orioles. You are not. Come on. Look at this team. This is a great offense. Finished 9th in OPS last year. They might even be better.
Yeah. They're $61 million under the luxury tax threshold.
What are we
This should be a team
talking
that's
about?
always flirting. You don't even need to go over it. At least flirt with the luxury tax threshold. Vaughn Grissom at second base. Look, this was a great get. Again, in the vacuum of the move, it's frustrating because it's like, oh, salary dump of Chris Sale. But to get Grissom back, great. I think he can swing it. He's been a victim of circumstance. The guy skipped the entire minor leagues. Basically, it barely played any games in Double-A. Debuts in the show, plays well for the Braves down the stretch, and then hit a little bit of a wall later on. But again, this guy was like forced to develop at the big league level, goes back to AAA, puts up great numbers there. And I think now being able to play second base, he can play a very solid second base, a well above average second base, and he can swing it. He'll be their everyday second baseman. I think he'll be a good one. So that was a good get for them too.
Absolutely. Let's talk catcher because I think that's kind of the only issue here. Are you a Connor Wong guy? He's the last one left from the Mookie Betts deal.
I like Connor Wong as a backup. I think he's a
too.
good backup catcher because he's versatile. He's kind of Austin Barnesy, where like in an emergency you can plug him in other spots. He's athletic. He does some things well. But they've got two backup catchers. That's the reality of it. I'm not much of a Reese McGuire guy. I know he had a little bit of a nice stretch, but this would be the position I'd want to upgrade. But they drafted Kyle Teal. He already got to Double-A last year. So I don't see them really going for a long-term option. But if this team wants to just at least give it a shot next year, I would consider like trying to sign just a decent free agent catcher. Is there anybody else left on the market?
No, there's nobody left. That's a problem. I mean, like
I
Gary
think they roll with
Sanchez.
this.
Gary Sanchez?
I would love Gary Sanchez for them, but I just feel like there's no way they do it, right? I mean,
No, I don't.
they went out and signed Roberto Perez already, which kind of tells me, hey, we're rolling with the two that we've got, and we're just going to roll with it. So just put us on record saying we don't like it, but we know that they're not going to do anything, and we want to be realistic for you guys there.
And it's not like we hate it, right? Like
no,
it's not terrible. It's just we think highly of the Red Sox, and we think that they should have better than the 23rd ranked catcher in Major League Baseball as their starter.
And here's the reality: this bridge year, because they're going to wait for Kyle Teal, who should be ready in 2025. Roman Anthony, who's also a top 15 prospect in baseball, he'll be ready in 2025. Marcelo Meyer, they're hoping will be ready in 2025. Like that's what they're focused on, which is disappointing. But looking at the lineup here, is there anything that you do? The bench is McGuire, Emmanuel Valdez, Bobby Dalbec, and Rob Refsnyder, the lefty bench. Murderer.
It's a good bench.
Yeah.
This offense is good.
It's fine. I like it.
They should compete this year, but now it's stuck pitching.
This is where it gets ugly. I would say I'm not going in the order of roster resource out of respect. Brian Bayo is probably the ace of this staff. So Brian Bayo, Lucas Giolito, Nick Pivetta, Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford. No. It can't be this. It just can't. Like unless you want to call it a rebuilding
year. This is worse than last year, and they were a bottom 10 rotation.
And I thought they got lucky with some of the contributions that they got from guys. Like, I don't even know. Like, Pivetta did have a really nice stretch, and he might have found something.
He looked dominant, to his
credit. He looked dominant. But Houck was a guy that they moved kind of back and forth for a reason. He might not be able to settle in the bullpen. I don't know how much I believe in what Cutter Crawford did. I feel like they got to move Kenley to clear up some money to either go sign somebody. We'll get to the bullpen in a second. But they pretty much have said we're not going to add any more money, only if we subtract. So we would have to dump Kenley and then sign a pitcher or trade for a pitcher. But it seems like they want to develop. So, what do you do here?
I think you trade Kenley for a minor league pitcher who is relatively close to making it. Like Garrett Whitlock is an interesting cat because he's shown flashes of being able to stay in the rotation, and then he gets banged up. He just can't make it through, but he's also been really good in the bullpen. And that's kind of what Tanner Houck is. Like both of these guys, I think you prefer them to be in the bullpen, but most likely they're going to have to be making starts. Same thing with Cutter Crawford. He's never been able to prove that he can withstand a long season. I know there's like a month in there or two where he looks really good and you get excited, and then it kind of comes crashing down, right? Brian Bayo, we both like 4.24 ERA last year, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he's like, oh, we have one guy that we're really going to build around. We think he could be good.
I like him a
His
lot.
ace upside? I don't
No,
think he
not
has
ace upside. No,
But that's exactly like that's the one guy who we're believing in right now. And like Giolito, maybe the Red Sox do some magic here, right? They signed him for a reason. They think that they can fix him. Lance Brzezowski came on this show and said that there's a lot of things that he likes in Giolito's repertoire. Maybe that ends up being solid, but I think that's the upside here. Like that's the ceiling is solid. So if your ceilings are solid with 2, 3 of them, we have to do so much work, but we can't. We're handcuffed. It's probably what Greg Breslow lays his head on the pillow at night and be like, fuck, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, I wonder if he already regrets it. Like just thinking about it from that lens, I'm just like he could have probably waited for a better opportunity, but
But
here
it's
he
the
is.
Red Sox.
Yeah.
Like this is the Boston Red Sox. This is kind of the theme of our entire episode. This is the Boston Red Sox we're talking about here.
So here's what I think you got to dump. You got to dump Kenley Jansen, but I think with his contract, you're not gonna get much in return for him. Like I think you're just hoping you can dump that contract. If you
He was
dump
very good last year.
Was he very good last year? Or was he just kind of like
no, I was about to say I did need to put the very in front. But he was good, right? 3.63 ERAs, saved 29 games, struck out more than he had innings, right? I mean, he's still good. He's not
No, he's good.
He's not
good.
40, he's 36.
Is he worth what is he owed this year? Is it 16 million or something like that? Like maybe
in this day and age, maybe. Right? Hector Neris probably going to have 15.
Yeah, so I think you could kind of just dump him. He's owed 16 million this year. You could probably just dump him and get some sort of lower level prospect back. Great. You cleared up that money. Now, how do you reinvest that $16 million?
We could trade him to the D-backs.
That's actually not a bad idea.
I know,
we didn't
right?
even think about that till we got to here. I mean, we said every GM episode would be independent. Otherwise, it would be the biggest brain blender of all time.
Like, what about Kenley Jansen for one of those Ciccone, Henry, or Ryan Nelson guys? You know?
I wouldn't.
I know. I don't know. I'm just trying to be creative here.
I would say, yeah, like, dude, I mean, I don't think he's worth that much just because of how expensive it is. It's
no, he might not be.
$16 million deal.
He might not be.
Maybe you could get Bryce Jarvis back. Like, all right.
No. I mean, let's
just assume you dump him for very little. You clear that 16 mil. Who at 16 to 18, 19, 20 mil AAV can you add to this rotation that would take a shorter term deal?
Stroman was kind of the answer.
Stroman was the answer. He just probably didn't want to pitch there.
Yeah. I mean, there's really nobody left because you're going high end or you're going low end. Like, it ain't Snell, apparently. It ain't Jamont, right? Like, would Kershaw want to end his career as a Red Sox? Probably not.
Right?
I mean, then it's like the same guys we talked about in the Diamondbacks episode, like Lorenzen, Clevenger, Rich Hill, Corey Kluber, Carlos Carrasco.
I think those guys, well, they're not bringing Kluber back, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just going through all the names here. Like Brad Keller.
I think Clevenger makes the most sense.
What about bringing back Paxton?
I don't know why they wouldn't after not trading him, but it sounds like they're probably going to get priced out of him too.
I mean, that's so embarrassing. How do you priced out of James Paxton? You're the Red Sox.
I think Clevenger. Just because of the bounce back ability.
Great.
Does that make you kind of in on that? Because I think it's going to be around that amount of money. He declined a $12 million option.
Are the Red Sox better if we get rid of Kenley and add Mike Clevenger for the same amount of money?
I think yes, because Clevenger gave you 130. He was 131 innings at a 3.77 last year.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
That might be that would be the best on their staff, by the way. So
oh no,
right? Like that would be the best that they had last year, and he was better in the second half as he continues to get further away from those injuries.
And how can legit be a closer? I think
I
think
agree.
He could be that good in the bullpen. So yeah,
I'd rather have him in the bullpen.
And Chris Martin was weirdly the greatest reliever of all time last year.
I think he could be their closer. So
yeah,
I would go Clevenger. I think he's the perfect fit for them because that's also a guy that throws a lot of pitches, that has some unique stuff, that just has kind of lost it. Obviously regained some of it last year, but I promise it had nothing to do with the White Sox. So now maybe they're able to get a little bit more out of him. This is another like reclamation project at 33 that if you suck, you can flip him. If you're hanging around, like he could be a big reason as to why you're hanging around. Just a guy that can give you quality innings. I think you dump Kenley and you put that money straight into Mike Clevenger.
Yeah, I think it's fair. What you keep saying dump though, I feel like he's not going to get dumped for nothing. Like I think they could still get back something. I just don't know what it would be. I truly don't. And maybe, I'm being the idiot here where it's like, hey, Arm, I think he's worth more, but I don't know how much more. It's just so hard for me to believe that he's worth nothing. He was
It's
still
very
good last year. He's still Kenley Jansen. You know that he's going to close games for you and be a good guy in the locker room. Like, you can't tell me it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder because it's a good question because I mean, right now he's just it'll change when a couple of guys sign, especially Hader, maybe even Neris. But as of now, for AAV, no reliever is owed more than Kenley Jansen next year, other than Edwin Diaz. It's 20.4 for Edwin. It's 16 for Kenley. It's 15 for Presley. It's 14.5 for Iglesias, and it's 14.1 if it was still Hader. But that's what he was making last year. So I mean, Craig, but on the other side of it, Craig Kimbrell got 1 year, 13 million from the Orioles. So from that lens, I'm like, okay, you're going to get something back for him. I just don't think it's anything substantial. It's probably an arm that Breslow wants to take a flyer on. So you trade him for that, a flyer prospect arm, probably a guy 10 to 15 range in a system, and a lottery ticket, and then you put that money to Clevenger.
I think that's fine. Should we trade him to the Diamondbacks?
Honestly, like,
yeah,
I'm in on that.
Who would it have to be, you think, if you go through their system? Would it be centered around a Tommy Henry or Slade Ciccone or Ryan Nelson? Or do you think they'd have to go lower levels?
I think a Bryce Jarvis could make sense. Landon Sims, I was like, he has not been good because he's been hurt and just the velo hasn't been back yet. Like that could be like the reclamation project that we're talking about here. I kind of like a Landon Sims and like one other arm that's just kind of a work in progress. But
I like the Landon Sims idea. The dude was unbelievable in college, and if he can be something, right? I think if that arm stays healthy, worst case scenario, you're looking at a pretty good reliever.
He could bounce back. And for Arizona, they're like, oh, well, if he has a bad year this year, we can't get anything for him. So
yeah,
it's kind
and now
of
you have Kenley Jansen.
Yep, I'd send him Landon Sims. Done.
Hey, Red Sox, we got a little reclamation project, and now you got Mike Clevenger. I mean, that team is better. And then we could go get some regular ass bullpen arms that Craig Breslow would like, and we could turn this bullpen into not terrible.
I think Slayton's going to be great for them. You should put me on record there. I thought he was the most intriguing arm in the Rule 5. He might even be a guy that they use multi-inning. So they get him. I think he might have been data-wise the best arm in the Rule 5. So that side of it, good to have there. Whitlock could be a guy that they try in the rotation as well here and there, but I like him better as a reliever, as you mentioned, for all the reasons.
And now we're moving Houck back into that bullpen.
Yeah, I think the bullpen's kind of fine, right? Like, again, is there like a bounce back super cheap candidate that you like that's just worth the risk?
I mean, this is where Matt Moore could come into the fold for the Red Sox. They definitely need a lefty. Another one. I want to add a lefty, right? Because I'm looking at a Red Sox pen. The only lefty in here is Brennan Bernardino, who was really solid for them last year, 3.20 ERA in 50 innings, but he is legit the only lefty in their pen. So I would like to add a different one. Do you want to trade with the Marlins or go get? No, I'm just kidding.
Mark Melancon?
I mean, it could be back? Like a Jake Diekman goes, right? Okay. It's fine.
Give him Diekman.
I mean, you could also, Colby Allard is 26, relatively top prospect at one point.
Fuji, done. Fuji.
Another righty, though?
I love the idea of Breslow getting his hands on Fuji.
Is Drew Pomeranz going to be able to pitch this year?
Ever? I don't know.
You got any updates on Drew Pomeranz? He was good at one point.
I would love the Red Sox to get involved with Fuji.
I think you like that for the meme less than actually be good.
This is one of the more talented arms that's going to be available, but he needs help. He needs help.
What about Dinelson Lamet again?
Oh God. All right, just pick one. Just pick one.
I think I really want a lefty. I really do.
Okay.
I think Jake Diekman is fine.
All right. Done.
I think he's could be kind of nasty. Do you disagree that this bullpen absolutely needs a lefty?
No, it definitely needs a lefty. All they have is Brennan Bernardino.
Yeah. I don't mind, but that's it.
Yeah, I would say Matt Moore or Diekman.
Who'd you rather have?
I'd rather have Matt Moore.
Sure. Matt Moore.
All right, Matt Moore. All right, so what we did is we traded Kenley. We got back intriguing pitching prospect in Landon Sims. Then we signed Mike Clevenger, and we begged ownership to let us go get a better catcher, but they said no, wait for Kyle Teal. And then we added one more reliever, Matt Moore, and that's it. Welcome to the 2024, 2025, pretty much. 2024 Boston Red Sox, and I don't know if 2025 is going to look much different either.
Red Sox fans, if we were in charge, we would I don't know what we would do to John Henry, but we would somehow find a way to replace ownership, and we would build the team that you all deserve. You're good fans.
I genuinely would.
I love the back and forth between the Yankees and the Red Sox. You deserve more. Your team is good, and it could easily go up to the next level, and you guys could become a World Series favorite if you were to add two big arms, right? Because in a perfect world, the Red Sox are being the Red Sox. They have the system to trade for Corbin Burnes, and then let's say they also sign Jordan Montgomery, right? It's not impossible. And then we're looking at a rotation of Burnes, Montgomery, Giolito, Bayo, and Pivetta.
That'd be great.
Then we're cooking here with that offense. And then we could also be the team to sign Josh Hader. You know why? Because of the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Of course
I think
could.
that the last thing I'll say is I think that they should not be on Sunday Night Baseball with the Yankees until they eclipse $200 million on payroll.
I don't know. That Clark Schmidt, Nick Pivetta Sunday night game could
with
hit.
Bernardino coming out of the pen to face the lefties. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. Yeah, no more Sunday Night Baseball with them until they get over 200 million. That's all I got. But
I think that's fair.
You want to take
Great
us
episode,
out?
though. Great episode overall, guys. Go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. I'm rocking the sweatshirt and I'm rocking the hat.
Ooh.
Full Just Baseball outfit here for me. Go get yours in the episode description. And again, it really helps us out if you guys rate and review 5 stars on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and hit that big red subscribe button. Come on, hit it. It's free. Helps us out. I'm coming out with me personally putting out a short form YouTube video. Make sure to stay tuned for that one. And I know Arm's got more in the tank. Ryan, Jack, the whole gang here at Just Baseball. Really appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back on Friday. It's Jack and Arm. They're doing the Chicagos. So stay tuned for that. So we'll see you on Friday. And with that, thank you, everybody.
Sweet.